Thank you for that great introduction. I couldn't remember all those things that I did. But I'm very, very happy to accept this award, and I'm just honored. I don't know what to say except thank you. You saw this up on the screen. One of the most beautiful ladies in the whole world, Miss Linda Vaughn. A very close and special friend of mine. Next to her is a drag racer. And a lot of people ask me, more than any other question, what's with this funny fire suit, tuxedo, and this top hat? Tell me about this. And so over and over, I told these stories, and there's a man in this room that's really responsible for all that, and especially the name Gentleman Joe. And I thought maybe you'd like to hear it. And what it amounts to is that years ago when I was a teenager, I read Peterson's magazines and got really hooked and thought the thing that I wanted to do more than anything else in life was be a drag racer and go out to California and race against all the people that I read about. And you know, that's the kind of thing that if you wish long enough and hard enough, it happens, and it did for me. And I, around in the 1960s, found myself with my friends, and we went out to California, way far away. It was like a different planet when I was growing up, but then it didn't seem so far when we got there. We had a lot of fun. And one of my first conversations was with Mickey Thompson, who at that time had, he was the manager of the Lions drag strip in Long Beach, California, and he ran the show there. And I says, Mickey, how about giving me some show money, some appearance money, to kind of defray all the expenses here? And he says, yeah, Joe, he says, let me tell you a little bit of how we do things out here. He says, you know, we got a lot of top guns out here. We got a lot of big names, and they do very good to fill the stands. And we got people like the Snake and the Mongoose and the Ridge Route Tears and the Swamp Rat. He says, you need to come up with some kind of a gimmick, some kind of a name, and let's see what we can do to make up a story that would get the crowd all excited like they do with some of the people we have here already, and think about that and get back to me. And I says, okay. So I went over to my my cam sponsor, Ed Eskandarian, and I says, you know, Ed, I got a little dilemma here. I talked to Mickey, and he won't come up with any money unless I've got some kind of handle that can be spoken of in the drag news and such that would kind of make a story. And he says, oh yeah? And he got kind of interested in it, more so than I thought he would. And he says, did anybody ever call you anything like a nickname before? And I says, I was thinking of something, but I wasn't going to blurt it out because I was kind of ashamed of it. He says, and then I said, yeah, you know, back in the Midwest there was a drag news writer, and he was covering an event that I was at, and I was doing pretty good. And he saw me open the car door for my girlfriend, and he thought that was pretty gentlemanlike for a guy that was in the heat of competition. And he called me in that event, after I won that event, he says, this is a gentleman drag racer. And I thought, oh my God, what a terrible thing to say. and I thought, oh boy, I just got to bury this under the rug before some of my competitors get wind of it, you know. And so I mentioned that to Ed. He says, now wait a minute. He says, I got an idea. That's a pretty good idea. Let's talk about this a little bit. I might have something here. He says, I'm thinking about something that we could do to make this good. And he started to walk over to a closet in his office. And at that time, two of his staff got up and they got real nervous and jittery. And I thought, what's going on here? And well, before I tell you the rest of this story, I got to tell you a little bit about Ed. For those of you that have never been in his office, Ed is a collector. He collects things, everything. And he's been doing this for years and years and years, long before I was born, probably. And he has a unique filing system that's known throughout the performance industry, and everybody talks about it because Ed has a system where he takes things that he wants to save and he puts them on his desk. And in the desk, there might be Tommy Ivo came in with a piston and he melted it, and Ed's trying to figure out why he melted it, so he puts it right here. And somebody else might have wrote him a real important letter, and that goes right here. And then pretty soon a camshaft goes here, then a cylinder head goes here, and it keeps on going, and it goes on like that for years and years. and the pile keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the unique thing about this is that Ed knows where everything is. If you ask him something that somebody said about a year ago, he says, "Yeah, I got that right here," and he pulls it out. And he's really something. Well, anyway, the pile got to the point where it was higher than Ed, and it transformed over into the closet. Now, many of you, or some of you, might remember Fibber McGee and Molly, the program, the comedy, where McGee had this closet full of stuff, and they didn't dare open the door because it would all come crashing down, you know. Well, Ed didn't care much about that. He was continuing on to this closet, and he says, "I've got something here that somebody gave me a while back, and I think it'll fit our situation just fine." And he opened the door, and all this stuff's come crashing down, and he didn't pay any attention to that. And he's reaching in the middle of this pile, and he says, "It's right in here." And he says, "I got it." And I says, "What?" He says, "It's a top hat." And I says, "Even if you can find it, it's going to be ruined in the middle of all that." And he says, no, I got it." And he pulled this out. It was a disc. It was crushed. And I says, "Ed." He says, "Yeah, this guy gave it to me." And he says, he says, "Try it on." And I says, "How can I try it on?" He says, "Well, the guy did something crazy. He punched a hole in it, or he beat on it, or he smacked it on his arm, or..." "Yeah, that's what he did." And it came into a hat. And he says, "Try it on." And so I tried it on, and he says, "Hey, that's it." He says, "I think we've got something here." And he was really a lot more excited than I could ever be, but he was really enthused. He says, "I tell you what we'll do. We'll get you a cane, some white gloves, and you will be the Gentleman Joe from Ohio drag racer." And I says, "Wow, this is really something. Why did I come here?" And he says, and so he was serious, and I got serious about it, because he then wanted to, he took, he made up an ad in Drag News, and it said, after he painted this image on my car and had it all re-lettered, Gentleman Joe, and the top hat and the white gloves and the cane, and then he had this ad made up, and it said, "Gentleman Joe will be coming to California with his Esky-powered Chrysler dragster, ready to take on all Southern California competition at Lions." And Mickey Thompson thought that was pretty good, and he paid me, and we were off and running with a new name and a new image. And I have all that to thank Ed Eskandarian. So there you go. There's, I'm very lucky to be sitting at a very special table over there, and Dave and Chris mentioned both Ed Eskandarian and Sal Fish, 40 years with SCORE. And I just wanted to say something about a couple of other people at that table, if I might, and that's Alex Exedius. Alex is here with his wife Helen, and I know about Alex from stories I've heard when I was in the industry, thicker than I am now. But the thing is, he worked for Bob Peterson way back, and ran as a publisher Hot Rod Industry News. I don't know if any of you remember that. But Peterson said to Alex one day, why don't you go out and see if you can muster up some kind of a trade show to go along with Hot Rod Industry News and see what you can do. So Alex went off to Dodger Stadium and he got a contract with the officials over there, and he put together this industry performance. I think it was a custom show, which was really the forerunner of the Sema show, different name. And he had 99 booths all signed up for this first Sema show, and that was really the very beginning of it. From there to Anaheim, and then of course, you know, Las Vegas. But Alex was right there as the grandfather of Sema in a way, because he went out and put the first show together. And I just wanted to say that. We also have another special person here that's quite a designer, recognized by General Motors as being one of the main people that designed the Corvette Stingray. And he's here with his wife Gail, and that's Peter Brock. Peter. Not only did he design the Stingray, but a lot of cars for Shelby, and he's considered one of the leading car auto designers of the whole world. And we're glad to have you here. And of course, the last person I want to mention, maybe the second last person, is Harry Hibbler. And you've heard of being raved about before, but Harry was one of the publishers of Hot Rod and Carcraft, and has been around this industry for a long, long time, and of course, and a Hall of Famer himself. And he's here with his wife, Marie. And last but not least, there's a lady that I'm very fond of, and she's has been for the last 45 years until his death, the personal executive secretary of Robert E. Peterson. And her name is Gigi Carlton, and she's sitting over there. Gigi has a distinction of being, now that they're both passed on, the president of the Peterson Foundation, and she's destined to carry on the legend of the Petersons. And for years, she's taken notes. She's got 140 notebooks of things that have happened in that office and what went on and so forth. And so she's got all the names and numbers, and she's going to write a book. So if you'd like to see anything about yourself and the Petersons in that book, or if you'd like something left out of there, get a hold of Gigi, and she'll be around with us tonight. So anyway, thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure, and I love being here.